Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to have the one and only Larry Madowo right here in the MCI studios. Oh my goodness. We just talked about how young we are, and we are absolutely young up there. Yeah.
Some young at heart, more than really young. But Tracy, who's counting?
I know who's counting, right? We're doing everything right. We hope you're having fun wherever it is you're listening in from. Thank you so much. And I think you can tell I'm a little bit starstruck. He is one of the absolute faves of mine in the journalism world. And of course, he is an international correspondent with the CNN covering African issues. I don't think, is there an African country you've not been to?
Yeah, we're a big continent. I'm on a mission to go to all of them. There's 55 countries.
Okay, so how many have you been to?
I don't want to count here, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But
cover the whole East African?
Obviously. I will tell you when I've been to all of them.
All
There's
right.
a couple of places that are yet to make my way into. Libya, Cape Verde, a couple of other places, yes.
I really don't care. You know why? Because you've been to Uganda, and that should count.
This is my third time here this year.
1 year, thrice.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Tell me what you think of Uganda.
I love Uganda. I love the food here. Oh my God. Everything. I love anything Luombo.
Yes.
First of all. I love anything with groundnuts.
Really?
Matoke.
You actually say that right.
Really?
Matoke, yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
I really enjoy eating here. Really,
do you love the weather?
It's raining this morning, which is not great, but we'll live.
And the people?
The people are fabulous. I have so many dear friends here. I guess most of them are journalists because that's what I do. But I think I know a lot of reporters that work at NTV and NBS, at the Monitor.
And they're all good, right?
They're fantastic.
We've been represented well.
Yes.
All right. For those that do not know, where do you actually come from?
I was born in Kenya, born and raised in Kenya. So that's where I come from.
All right. Born and bred right here.
Actually, very close to Uganda. I come from Siaya County. Siaya County is next to Busia. So
really?
It's very close to the border with Uganda.
So do you know any Ugandan language?
I used to speak Luganda when I was young. Then I forgot the language. So now all I know is literally greetings and thank you. Webale.
Webale.
Yes.
All right. Very interesting. Now, Larry, we are just from a very, very good session with you. And of course, very many issues were raised. I have just about 3 questions for you. And one, we're talking about less African representation at decision-making levels. And of course, at major publications, we have more faces on TV than on the decision-making table. How do we change that, in your opinion?
I think that's certainly a problem, that even though we have more Africans telling African stories on major global publications and outlets, we still don't have enough Africans in those editorial making decisions.
Yes.
Tables. So that the actual editors and executive producers and people who have commissioning budgets to tell African stories are sometimes people who've never been to Africa.
True.
And so their understanding of the continent is based on what they read or they saw somewhere else, and it's not always the right perspective, the right framing. And that's a work in progress. It won't change overnight. It means more African journalists going on to work at Reuters and CNN and BBC and AFP and Al Jazeera, and then making their way through the ranks from producer or whatever, assistant producer, fixer, stringer, etc., until you are editor for Middle East, Europe, and Africa, until you are London bureau chief, until you are president, and then you will be much more attuned to what kind of stories are told about Africa and making sure they're right. I will say this, CNN has lots of great Africans in front of behind the camera. We have people even who are not African who are huge advocates for stories from the continent.
True.
My boss, Deborah Rayner, who is this senior vice president for international news gathering at CNN, has been to Uganda many times. She has family here in Uganda, so she's invested in making sure that our stories, not just from Uganda, from across the continent, are accurate, have the right nuance and perspective, and I think I'm appreciative of that.
Thank you so much, Larry. I wanted to find out if it's possible that we could change the narrative about Africa from our local settings, rather than us trying to really reach for, the global outlets. Are we able to change the narrative from, reporting at NBS or, being a writer with Daily Monitor? Am I still able to capture and change narratives?
I think local and national journalists are the most powerful because you inform domestic audiences on important issues. So the people that work at the New Vision and the Daily Monitor and Observer and NBS and NTV, they are so critical to the functioning of Ugandan society, to the propping up of this democracy, much more than anything you'd read or watch on the BBC or CNN or Al Jazeera or Reuters, because they serve their own communities. They are a part of this country. They need to make sure that this society works, that they hold powerful people accountable, that they expose wrongdoing. And therefore, their reporting, their storytelling is so critical to making sure that they have a functioning democracy, that they have a society that calls out wrongdoing, that makes sure that if something is not going right, it's in the front pages of the papers, leading Ntv Kaongezi.
Yes.
That's much more important.
Interesting. You're a gentleman and you've been to so many, media houses and traverse. How do we get women more representation, especially not just as hosts and beautiful ladies, no doubt, but how do we then make sure that ladies are more apparent in decision-making in boardrooms and editorial policies?
I think there needs to be an actual concerted effort to make sure that journalism attracts women at entry level, because it's when you come in as an intern and there's a career progression path for you, that you can come from intern to CEO to managing editor. And that when you are having trouble in the newsroom with the sexism, sexual harassment, any sort of roadblocks to your career, that there's ways for you to make sure that that can be unstuck. That's a real problem right now, not just in Uganda, but across the continent, in many ways, in other parts of the world.
True.
There has to be, every media manager, every outlet has got to make sure that they're representing women, make up half of society. Why is it that they're not in front and behind the camera making editorial decisions at the major newspapers, radio and TV stations? So that is really something that I think should be a challenge to anybody who runs a media house, even to male reporters, male media managers. How do you make sure that your team is not just made up of other men?
Absolutely. Another one would be what you said. I would fight till my last breath in that session. What exactly? Put that into context for us.
I think Africa has been misunderstood for such a long time. And growing up, reading about and hearing about Africa, lots of the stories were from other Western outlets, but they were not by Africans. So the work that people like Nancy Kachingira and Edith Kimani and others do, Alan Kasuja, love Alan Kasuja.
Yeah.
That the work they do in making sure that we are at the table, that we tell positive, accurate stories about the continent and not just the negativity, is so important. And that, for me, this cottage industry of misunderstanding Africa has been going on for a long time, but we're here to disrupt it. We're here to make sure that Africans are seen like proper three-dimensional human beings. And that's why I will fight for it to my last breath, to make sure that every time I open my mouth on a platform that goes out around the world, I am centering Africans and telling the right narratives and centering the right heroes.
I love Africans that love Africa. Larry, one word to describe Africa.
Wow, Tracy, you asked the hard questions.
Oh, yes, one word. Energy.
Because the energy in this continent, everywhere I go, is just incredible. I was here for the New Year's Eve and into New Year, by the way, into 2022. And the energy was crazy.
Yep.
And every time I come back to Kampala, I'm just like, I could live here.
Yeah, it's the energy. We're just a ball of energy. How do we get more Larrys?
I hope that more people find a path into journalism, if that's what they're into. And I hope that there's therefore ways for them to develop their career, starting from Sanyu or Capital FM into however far they want to go. Because I think the aspiration is for many people to try and be like Nancy Kachingira or Alan Kasuja. But there's just as equally important, powerful journalists here. I'm a huge fan of Raymond Mujuni and Darren Cheyune and Solomon Serwanja, who remain here and do important work for local audiences to make sure that your society functions, that they speak and they hold power to account.
Yes.
And they're doing important work. And there should be more ways for them to mentor the next generation of journalists. There should be ways for them to make sure that they handhold and lead people into this path. Because I think journalism is such a blessing. It's such an incredible job, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
All right. Well, it is MTI Radio, and of course, we are privileged to have the one and only Larry Madowo right here in our studios. Yes. Oh, okay. You know what? We might not see you till Christmas. I'll ask that you give us your festive message right here in November. It's already about Thanksgiving or something.
In my mind, it's already Christmas.
Yes, let's go. They're just wonderful.
Oh my God. Listen, I want to wish everybody a beautiful holiday season. I hope you're surrounded by love. You're surrounded by beauty and you're surrounded by food.
Yes.
And happy Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year.
Yeah.
Listen, happy Easter, happy everything. Don't add me in the New Year. I've wished you all the holidays.
All the
I wish
holidays.
you all happy all of them. Independence Day. all
Happy
of that.
birthdays.
Happy birthday.
All those
I'm done.
things. All right. And of course, our fans, your fans at MCI Radio, just one word for them. MCI Radio. Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be here at MCI Radio and to everybody who follows my work. You make it worthwhile. I am just in awe of the fact that there's people out here who listen to MCI Radio, who live in Uganda and who find my work to be useful. I hope it is. And if you have any ideas, please reach out to me at Larry Madowo on all the socials.